This week, I am in the throes of enjoying a little bit of a break from the crazy summer heat. This is our first week where we have every single day. It's not getting out of the 70s and it is gorgeous. It's so nice to be outside. There are even some trees that are so excited about it. They're like starting to turn color a little bit, which is really early, but nonetheless, it is definitely something to rejoice over to finally have a little break from all the crazy heat of the summer. Fall is my favorite season. And so even though it's still warm and, I'm not having my pumpkin spice lattes just yet, it's still that first little taste of fall, which really invigorates me and gets me really excited. This week, I also had the opportunity of having a really, really nice and fruitful conversation with one of my friends. And she was telling me this story about something that happened between her and her sister. And so her sister really crossed a line and said some things and treated her in a way that is not acceptable and not appropriate. And so, understandably, my friend exploded back at her sister and they exchanged words, and it was not the prettiest side of herself and really not the kind of person that she wants to be. But what continued to happen with my friend after she had had this altercation with her sister is that she really held on to that hurt and that anger, and she was carrying that resentment with her. And she was able to recognize that in herself. She went to confession and confessed both the anger and the resentment and that unwillingness to forgive. But even after confession, she still felt like she wasn't in a place where she was able to let that go. And so she and I were just kind of having a really, really nice conversation about what forgiveness means, what that looks like in our life, and how we can live that out. So there are two different things at play in an example like this. And so the first is that when we are talking about sinning and giving into our anger, a big part of how severe a sin is if we willingly choose it. So when we talk about the difference between venial sins and mortal sins, so venial are the smaller sins that are forgiven every time we attend Mass, and those are just kind of the little things that hurt our relationship with God, but they don't necessarily destroy our relationship or cut off our connection with God. But then our mortal sins, of course, are the really intense sins that we have, the very serious ones. And those are the ones that really do sever our relationship with God. And it is essential that if we recognize that we are in a state of mortal sin, we need to go to confession as quickly as possible and lean and rely so, so seriously on the mercy of Jesus. Like, he loves us so much. There are priests all over the country who have hours of confession available all the time. Find out when your confession is, stand in line for an hour if you have to, and get there and receive the mercy of Christ. It is always available. But when we're thinking about the mortal sins, so the things that make sins very serious, the first is it has to be a serious matter. So that's the difference between, you know, rolling your eyes at your mother and being disrespectful or murdering someone, right? Like, obviously, taking someone's life is a very serious matter. And then the second is that we have to know that it's a serious matter. So we have to be well catechized and we have to be in a state of mind that we understand and we know that it is serious. And then the final one, and what I really spent a lot of time talking about with my friend, is that we have to willingly choose it. And whenever we are hurt or attacked or provoked in a way, and we have these like knee jerk gut reactions, and we might yell or we might say something we regret or do something that we might regret afterwards, we're not necessarily choosing to make that decision. And so, in that case, when it's, we're attacked and then we just kind of lash back out, we do have that separation where we can see, okay, that wasn't something that I chose. I didn't think about the two options. Well, I could respond by saying this, but no, instead of saying that, I'm going to say this and then start screaming at her. If you willingly choose it, then that's kind of, the horse of a different color. That's when it becomes the very serious sin. So in the case of the anger and in the moment, it's maybe not as serious of a sin. But what the serious sin becomes is when we choose to not let go, when we choose to not forgive, and we choose to hold on to our resentment or even feed into our resentment by gossiping, by telling other people about it, by trying to get other people on our side to tell us and affirm us that we were in the right, and et cetera, et cetera. And so this is where there's really that room for growth in the spiritual life. And so we were just kind of talking through what that looks like. And then after we chatted, I had a vision, an idea of something that came to me that I wanted to share with you guys this week. And to me, this is what holding on to a resentment or not forgiving is. So you're stopped, you're in a car, you're driving, and you're stopped at a red light, and the oncoming traffic, they have a left green turn arrow. And so the cars in front of you are turning left in front of you onto the street. And your light turns green. It is time for you to go straight, but another 2 or 3 cars come into the intersection, even though they clearly have a red light, and they are just still bombing through that intersection and turning left right in front of you. Now, in that moment, you have a choice. You are in the right, your light is green. You can put your foot on that gas pedal and you can ram right into those cars. Or you can choose to just keep your foot off that gas pedal for an extra few seconds, let them pass, and then continue on the road and continue on the path that you want to. Now you have every right. You are in the right because your light was green and their light was red. So you are entitled to be in that intersection. But just because we're in the right, so just because someone has wronged us, just because somebody else has done something that is hurtful and offensive and not fair and not kind and not just because somebody else is breaking the law and running a red light or hurting us, we have that right. We are entitled. And yet, what the Lord invites us to do is just keep our foot off that gas pedal, let them pass through the intersection so that we can keep going. Because sure, we could crash into them. And yes, it would be their fault for the insurance claims. It would have to go against their insurance, but we would still have to deal with the damage of our cars and dealing with a rental car and trying to figure out the insurance and wait for the reimbursements and all of the muck and the yuck and all of the stress dealing with a car wreck, even if it's not our fault, even if it doesn't go against us. Nobody wants to deal with that, right? So as we encounter these opportunities in our lives, when we have conflicts with other human beings, other sinners just like us, we get the choice. We get to choose if we want to go get into a collision with them. Like, do we want to deal with the wreck and stand by, I was right and I deserve this and you need to, you need to, you need to? Or do we want to say, I can't control you. I can't change the fact that you are running red lights. I can't change the decisions that you make for your life. But for my life, I would rather have smooth sailing down the road. I'd rather get to my destination today. I would rather not deal with the stress of any of that with dealing with an accident. And I am going to choose to just let that go. Because this is the gift that the Lord offers us. It doesn't make sense to allow people to wrong us and to be able to just forgive them and to let go of that resentment. But what we get instead when we let go of that is we get to have a stress-free journey. And now I want to be clear that this is not the same thing as saying, I'm never going to go through my light and I'm just going to let everybody cut in front of me, or I'm going to pretend like they didn't break the law or they weren't in the wrong. Like, letting go of that resentment is not deluding yourself. It's not pretending like that other person didn't do wrong. It's acknowledging their wrong and entrusting whatever correction that they need in their life will be done by the Lord. Like, that's not my job. My job is to protect my own heart, to protect myself, and to keep myself as far away from sin as possible. And when I am not dealing with a wreck, I am much happier, much calmer. I get where I'm meant to go. I do the things that I want to do, and I have such a better day. And so if you're looking for a better day yourself, then maybe you too need to just keep your foot off that gas pedal and let somebody pass in front of you and just let them go. Because even though you have a right to collide with them, you probably just don't want to deal with that today or any day. So I encourage you this week to think about anything that you might be holding on to. And this could be something as little as somebody cutting you off yesterday in traffic, or it could be something from years ago that you have been holding on to and harboring that resentment. But just know that the Lord wants to give you that peace and that freedom, and that through forgiving them and just letting it go and accepting that even though you're entitled, you are not going to crash into them, that you will instead receive the peace of Christ, and then you can get exactly where the Lord wants you to be today. That's all I have for you today. I'm Maria Riley, just a sinner in the throes of trying to be a saint.